is it true that you actually set a precedent? They're talking about a precedent, something you did in the past. Did you do that?
Did you appoint yourself to positions on
committees?
I'm telling you, John, I'm going to tell you.
No, he pleads the fifth.
Okay, well, I guess that's that. It doesn't surprise me, Eddie.
Okay, well, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
Oh, good morning. Welcome back to Talking Racine. To my right, Mr. Jim Spodek,
A sneak
producer
opening.
of the show. Now, that was not sneaky,
Sneak attack.
George Myers. And I'm Dr. Ken Yorgan, your host. Well, we've got a topic of discussion that's pretty interesting this morning. It has to do with the race for municipal judge, which involves the wife of the mayor, Corey Mason. It's Rebecca Mason is running for judge. She was originally, I think, was she appointed for a brief period of time and then ran to fill out the term, and now she's running for actual election?
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, there's a problem that has come up. It's been raised by a former member of the Office of Lawyer Regulation.
It was raised by a member of this group right here several months ago.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, you brought it up when
When
Corey was running for mayor.
All I'm getting is some enforcement of my
Your opinion.
citizen opinion. Yes.
Yeah, well, I respect your opinions. And this guy was on the Office of Lawyer Regulation, which is the body that oversees the ethics and the regulations of how lawyers perform in the process of their profession. And he apparently consulted with, about 10 other lawyers, and they all came back with the same opinion. Not a good idea. Basically, what you've got is the heads of two separate branches of government who have a very personal relationship. So the prevailing opinion amongst several people of qualification is that, and it's in the Supreme Court rules,
Right.
she would have to recuse herself from many cases if that the city would be involved in. I mean, some people are saying all of them.
Well, it would be nearly all. It would be certainly.
Well, it would have to
about,
be the recusal, or she'd have to get a waiver to sit in.
Yeah, well, you can always do that. You can
Right.
you can always at least announce that you have a relationship there. I was a defendant in a massive court case one time, and the judge was my sister's student for piano teaching, and she had announced up there that Mr. Meyer's sister is my piano teacher, and I don't see that as being a conflict of interest, so I'm going to stay here. I'm going to go ahead with this unless there's an objection type of thing.
Right.
And nobody objected, so she made it known at least, and that's what Rebecca Mason would have to do with every case, I think, that involves a municipal ordinance.
Here it says in a ruling that was in Washington County that had similar situation, it says the judge or the judge's spouse or a person within the third degree of kinship to either of them or the spouse of such person. So
Third degree kinship, don't worry about that. It's complicated. Right. It says the judge or the judge's spouse.
I mean, that's
it right there.
Gets.
That's above the third degree of kinship. So we haven't got that totally figured out.
The judge shall perform the duties of judicial office impartially and dignify. This is very small. The judicial duties of a judge takes precedent over all the judge's other activities. So that means that her activity is over, sorry to say, Corey, the marriage. That judge.
Well, that's what it's saying there.
He might be relieved by that. I don't know what's going on over at their house.
But the fact is...
Well, and that's where you get in your conflict of interest.
Absolutely.
Right.
It has to take precedent over the marriage, but wait a second, we're married, dear, and that's a thing of compromise.
Right.
And
Well, it could complicate the procedure in the municipal court to the point where it would become untenable. It's just not.
Here's one of the things that we brought up the matters that are in municipal court, and one of them is first degree drunk driving. Correct?
Yep.
I'm telling you, if I was in front of the judge and I didn't get the recusal, you better believe I'm going back, because I mean that's a big ticket item for a lot of people, especially if you're, you made the mistake, obviously, but I want to make sure that I was treated fairly in front of that judge. And I'll tell you, there's no way I would not be going back on that one.
Well, it's any traffic case, underage alcohol, first offense, drunk driving, parking, building code violations, disorderly conduct, trespass, health code violations, animal control violations, and truancy. I mean, all of these things are,
Right.
and they could all be subject to appeal or protest or whatever.
I mean, just one of the cases was Washington County. It was a judge who her husband,
Judge Ziegler, right?
right?
Yeah.
It was her husband was a director of a bank. The bank would come in and she would preside over foreclosures. Really, is what it was. It was 11 cases, and this is the one that went to the Supreme Court. And they said that they didn't take her off the bench, but they went through it, and they said the appropriate sanction was this a public reprimand. A public reprimand was done with her. Now, in this case, it's still going on. This would have happened since Corey Mason was installed as mayor
Right.
by his wife.
Right. Now, suppose he's taking a public stand, like he's going to really cut down on crime when he gets in there, or he's going to make sure that there's no slumlords around, something like that.
Right.
Or he wants
It
to
could
get
be
rid
anything.
of drunk drivers. Now, if he's made a public stand, how is she going to treat somebody that comes before her bench that has violated any of those things?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what you going to say? Well, I don't care what he thinks. That's not the way marriages work. And there would be that's where you get into this conflict of interest. Now, technically, anything that's brought up to her that involves municipal ordinances comes out of his branch of government. That's all enforcement, and theoretically, he's only bringing it up there because he wants it enforced. And he's got a wife now that may potentially unenforce it or refuse to
Or be more
charge
severe.
the person
Yeah,
because they're broke or something like that.
Or they're more severe. Who knows? My husband really.
Or even more severe because they're violating
it's
part
just-
of his campaign promise.
Well, George, you were absolutely right, and I think everyone. Here's the other thing I always have a problem with. Nobody else knew this. I mean, we got how many attorneys and we've got staff. And, I mean, nobody brings this up until there's an election when the.
Well, George did. I remember you
well, yeah,
talking
but
about
I mean, as far as within the branch of government,
Right.
nobody brings this up. Nobody has a question. I mean, no one.
Well,
That's a problem.
Well, when it gets down to it, we're getting the government we deserve. We as a people. And until we become more aware of that and start cutting it off right at the neck there, where at the election time, we're going to continue to get problems.
What do you mean we get what we deserve? What did I do?
Well, I say collectively. That's why I put in the
okay.
collective thing. I mean, there's an awful lot of people out there that are just voting for someone because they're a Democrat, or just voting them because they're Republican.
Well, that kinda ties
And if you're going to vote that way, you're going to get this type of crap. That's
And
what's
the
going
Supreme
on.
Court doesn't even like the perception of a conflict of
Right.
interest. So.
Yeah. No, they shouldn't, because it's always possible. I mean, yes, it's possible, like the piano teacher thing, where there was no thing. By the way, I was thrown out of that case anyway because the 5 property managers were not just liable. So, but it had nothing to do with piano teaching. It had to do with the law.
Right.
So the thing was that but the potential being there. That defendant
No other judge could
is
figure this out,
someone who I
George.
learned
There's no
from,
other judge within. There's no other judge that had this figured out. You figured it out. Actually, we figured it out. But the judges couldn't figure this out.
Yeah. No.
This is what I always talk about. A club. We got a big club.
Yeah,
here.
it's pretty obvious there, and we're going to get into some more things I think that are pretty obvious, and I think that we as citizens have the absolute right to have an opinion about, and one of them is about the separation of powers in government,
Not
whether
just
it's
a
at
right,
federal
we got
level,
a
state level.
responsibility.
Well, thank you for that. Yes, to have your own opinion. You don't just get it from a lawyer. Don't just get it from a judge or somebody else. Even the Supreme Court, they got 9 people on there. They have 5-4. Guess which way it goes? It goes with the 5.
5 wins,
even
yeah.
the 4 all disagreed with the 5. So even at that level, even though there's a disagreement, it's still majority rule, and you still have a right to have an opinion about anything that goes on in your government.
Well,
Thank
getting back to the, you're talking about it being a big club, and the
getting that way.
Democrats protecting their own, the Republicans protecting their own. Got something here.
No, wait. Before we go, I got one thing.
All right.
This is, remember Corey Mason? I'm the Democrat. I'm the Democrat.
Yep.
Right.
Now,
That's right. He was the only Democrat.
I'm the Democrat.
and his
Remember.
opponent was 40%
Yeah.
Republican and
and-
Tea Party. Might have been 60%
Yeah, whatever.
Democrat.
And by statute, those things are described as nonpartisan
Nonpartisan
offices,
races.
nonpartisan races.
He purposely went out there, and I know it quite well, that he's going to taint the other, apparently at one time Democrat, but as an independent, oh no, she's not a Democrat. I'm the only Democrat. So this was brought into a nonpartisan race from the very get-go. So now, when the wife becomes the municipal judge, he becomes the mayor. Where do we go from here?
Oh, just a bunch of Democrats.
So we're gonna
They're part of the
build
club.
this machine. We have to build a machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
And by the way, I'd just like to point out right now that we're only talking about Democrats because the Democrats are doing the same darn thing
Yep.
goes on in the Republican Party.
Yep.
There's parts of each party that it's philosophical. There really is. In the Democrat Party, you have the ACLU, very philosophical. They defend all kinds of people. And there's the Green Party that really gets into environmentalism. But then there's the crass money and power part of it, which dominates the party.
Dominates the party.
And on the Republicans, you have the same thing. You have the Tea Partiers, who are really pushing for the Constitution and balancing the budget. But you saw what they ran into when they ran into the crass power and money part of the Republican Party. So both of these parties have this part that's just money and power, and it's my money and power versus your money and power, and we want in there. And right now we're just happen to be
And the
looking
last
at the
thing that
Democrats.
comes in-
But it's not only Democrats.
Right, but the last thing that comes in is the actual citizenry, the community, and the taxpayer.
So
That's
we're-
the last on the list.
We get hit by either one. That's
Yeah.
why the guy by George Wallace says there's not a dime's worth of difference between the two. He's talking about that crass political and power thing.
Mm-hmm.
And who gets it, and regardless of who's in power, we get hit. And that's what we're trying to change on this program, because we can turn around, we can make it different. But it's going to take a change in the attitude of everyone out there.
We're equal opportunity complainers, I think.
And change merchants.
Now, getting back to what I was talking about, complaining about, is this announcement right here. Which
Oh.
This is
the epitome of it,
I
folks.
haven't seen this before. I mean, we got our friend Tracy Laren over in the 4th District, she's a first-time member of the Common Council. She's up for election now. And we've got a fundraiser being hosted by Mayor Corey Mason, Representative Greta Neubauer, and Doug Nicholson. I mean, when do have you ever seen the mayor
I've
get
never seen
involved in a
Let alone a state
aldermanic race?
legislator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, Tracy Laren must have some kind of Republican attachment. I mean, Democrat attachment,
Oh, yeah.
because why else would they go down in there and want her in there?
Well, because they don't want the opponent that's running against Tracy in obviously.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean,
her opponent is Dennis Monte, who is Mr. No Arena Man.
Right, exactly. Fiscal responsible. We don't want that.
Yeah, Corey Mason was all for the arena until he found out he couldn't get elected doing that, and Representative Greta Neubauer had been along those lines also. So the point is that this is just the Democrat Party now coming down into an aldermanic area and deciding we need this person here. We need one of ours in there,
Right.
regardless of any qualification.
Education, but I don't know, the words are lost. We need to get this passed so that we can get to a point of figuring out what prevention and everything that Alderman of the Third has talked about. It's not, I don't think we can do, and Alderman Lutney, if you can, Attorney Lutney, can we make an ordinance of prevention?
Dennis opposed the $55 million expansion for the arena. Well, the best choice, according to some people, maybe Corey Mason and Greta Neubauer, is someone who really liked spending that $55 million for the arena,
Here's the
which
other
there were
thing.
plenty of. So the best choices are maybe your opinion, but when it comes down to a financial thing, what's best for the city, that's up to you people out there to decide. But I think the best choice, at least as far as I'm concerned, was someone who was not going to waste $55 million on a dang hockey
We're
field.
missing here is Doug
Hockey
Nicholson.
field.
Doug Nicholson, who has numerous bars. Tracy Laren sits on the Public License and Safety Committee, which oversees the licenses.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much more.
That smells
No.
a little funny.
I mean, how much more can you take on something like this? I
No,
mean, this is way over the top, but it's right in your face. I mean, they're not hiding it at all.
No, and $500 to be a host, $250 be a sponsor. That's pretty big prices for aldermen. It's entirely possible.
Well, I got some video. You want to see some of the Common Council, because we can just step right into the next.
All right, let's go.
All right.
What do you got?
Let's see some video. Bring it on.
Mayor Mason nominating following individuals to boards and commissions. First one is John Tate, to Alderman John Tate, second to the Waterworks Commission filing, filling a vacancy that is expiring October 1st, 2021. Third appointment is to appoint Corey Mason, 3907 Lighthouse Drive, to the Redevelopment Authority.
You know, the thing I think is interesting about these appointments, folks, is this is the mayor's second shot at it. When he brought that up last November, he had a whole bunch of old white guys in there, you know. And so John Tate brought up that he wanted more diversity, and Sandy Widener supported that. She was very pleased to hear someone who she's generally in opposition to, that they agreed upon it. So they sent it back to the mayor, and here's the second try, and John Tate is now on the member.
Exactly.
A young black guy mixed in with these old white guys. So that was really good.
What
I
other
thought-
forms of diversity do we have there?
Well, it'd be nice to have some gender diversity.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other thing is what you don't see is philosophical diversity.
And
Let's get a different way to think, you know, as opposed to, okay, we got the ethnicity handled, we got the gender handled, but everybody still thinks
Well,
alike.
I always like the term they use, one voice. Like, oh my.
Yeah.
And the reason
Arm in arm.
the reason philosophical diversity is important is because if you've got one voice, if one person is wrong, everybody's wrong.
Yep.
Whereas if you got a couple people
Yeah.
in disagreement, you can discuss the differences and find out why that person's thinking that way. You can explain why you're thinking this way, and a discussion ensues. And a lot of times opinions can change.
That's right. That's right.
And policies can change.
And you can get some new ideas in there and really see some change.
So I would like to commend the mayor in his response to the plea made by the alder of the 3rd District back in November to apply some diversity to an appointment to the Water Wastewater Commission, but I would like to draw to your attention that the other appointments and the other commissions in which there are appointees have the same type of makeup as the water wastewater. We need to have diversity on all of our boards and commissions, and it should not only be diversity of race, ethnicity, it should also be a diversity of opinion and position. And I am not going to vote against the appointment of the mayor to appoint himself to the RDA, something that I've never experienced in my 18 years on the council. I have no objections to that. He certainly can do it. He is a city of Racine elected official. But the Redevelopment Authority has the same makeup as the Water Wastewater Commission had, which caused this to go back to the mayor for further consideration. So I just want to draw to your attention that there are all kinds of diversity, and those should be applied to all boards and commissions, not just the Water Wastewater.
Is that a good idea or what, folks?
Yeah. And you notice she didn't mention gender, you know? I mean, that would have been the easy thing to say, we need women on there. But women don't necessarily have a different opinion.
No,
If you got a philosophical
No.
difference, then you got differences of opinion, which is more
Yeah,
important.
I think the major one, yes, should be on philosophical. The other
I
two, to
agree.
me, are very minor. You know, to me, the color of a person's skin really just doesn't mean a lot.
gender,
And
really.
gender, but that's where all the emphasis is.
And I'm going to throw it up, but here's we go back to Rebecca Mason.
Oh yes.
She now is the first woman municipal judge. But one of the things that and it's a big deal, but one thing I've noticed about when Widener ran for mayor, she never brought up that she was
She would have been the first
female,
and a really top-notch one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been really different.
But
can I just?
But that's what I mean.
Yeah, it says it's re-elect Rebecca Mason, municipal judge, the first celebrating Women's History Month with Racine's first female municipal judge. See, a lot of emphasis on that, but not when the only Democrats running in the race.
Exactly. So
then the heck with this gender.
Yeah, forget all that stuff.
And really, the claim to be the only Democrat was fallacious. I mean, I've talked to Sandy Widener, and I know that she was raised in a Democratic family, and she pretty much subscribes basically to democratic ideals, but she does not limit herself to that. And she doesn't declare that because it's a nonpartisan race.
And you represent everyone. You don't just
Absolutely.
represent
I think
the
that was the
Democrats.
thing that was important to her. She wanted to represent everyone. She wanted to maintain her independence of any of this
And you can see
political
what's
party
happened.
stuff.
I mean, it's okay. Yeah, you know, you win and lose races, but now you can see how this is
Why it makes a difference.
yeah, it definitely is growing. You can see this now. I mean, the judge. Now you got the mayor.
Well,
To the municipal judge. Now they're out campaigning for alderpersons that they want on here who are Democratic. I mean, and it's through almost every race. So you can see this machine has now moved into Racine. You had it in the federal government, the state government, and now we're getting it in the local government.
No,
So-
it could become another machine, just like they have in Chicago.
Yeah.
They've had in Baton Rouge. They've had in various cities
And, I mean,
notorious machines.
Yeah.
And
they don't serve the public well.
no, they don't. No, they serve power and money. That's what they serve. And when we're seeing it, Jim, you've been bringing it out in a lot of the things that you're bringing out with regards to Machinery Row, power and money.
Yep.
And that's
And
that's
you know,
what
we can go
gets
that
served.
far too. Why is he on the RDA? Because there has to be
That's
some
where there's
control.
big money
Big
coming
money,
in.
big power, and there's some, as far as I'm concerned, criminal activity. So let's keep that at bay because we don't want that.
And that's why they
Losing
don't
out.
want Sandy Widener on that
Exactly.
committee either.
Oh yeah, well that's something that needs to be mentioned. I mean, Mayor Mason talked about he would be happy to have a member of the council who was willing to serve on the committee.
Right.
And the reports that I've heard, and I have no reason to doubt them, is that Alderman Widener had her hand to the ceiling, volunteering to be on that
Oh,
committee.
during this meeting here?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
unfortunately we don't have that on video, but that's the word, yeah, that she was up there. I'll do it, I'll do it. Is there anybody would
I wanna
like,
make a
anybody
bet.
would want
Anybody?
to volunteer?
Nobody?
I don't
Okay,
see
I'll
her.
do
I
it.
can't see it. I want to play a little more.
Commissioner shall be a member of the local legislative body.
And currently, are there other members of the local legislative body on the RDA?
I don't have the current roster of the members in front of me, I'm sorry.
She asked if there's any other legislative members on the RDA.
Right.
All right, so, and she didn't know.
No.
So how does the mayor
Why do
fit
they
in on
not
that?
know? When
Yeah.
they-
I mean, it's on the agenda. You don't know.
I
it's
know,
on the
you don't,
agenda.
yeah.
And how
like
many
you don't-
times have you seen that where somebody has asked for information? Oh, well, I don't have that in
I
front
don't
of
have
me
that,
this
yeah,
evening.
who all the members are. Okay, I agree you don't have all the members.
Or
That
what the
wasn't the
budget
question.
is, or all
The
these
question
other
was
things.
not, who are all the members on the RDA? The question was a real simple one, are there any legislative people on that?
Right.
And that would be easily known without knowing who all the people are, needing the whole list in front of you. And she didn't even know that much about it. That's
So, I mean,
Nicole
but-
Larson, that's their city attorney.
Assistant city attorney.
Assistant city attorney, yep. That's shame like that's going on.
I can tell you.
The last member was Alderman Tracy Laren, and I'm not sure if she is currently a member of the body. Oh, I'm advised she resigned.
There we go.
I'm not sure she's a member. It's too bad she resigned. Well, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Well, she probably was in there
did
saying,
resign.
I resigned, remember?
Wait, how do you know she resigned? Too bad she resigned, and you don't know if she's on it or not. It sounds like she's not on it. We're getting extremely conveniently stupid here.
Yeah.
Conveniently stupid.
Yes.
So, I mean,
This is a woman bucking her party.
Yeah, big time.
I mean,
Actually-
she does a marvelous job of it.
Yep.
I've never seen her look so pretty.
She's got that face like, boy, something's wrong here. And I don't want to say it, but boy, I feel like there's something wrong.
I really respect Corey, but I think we should move to amend it to add somebody else. It just seems funny to me to appoint oneself, although it's probably technically reasonable, I guess. So I'd like to make a motion to amend to accept the other three, but to find someone from the legislative branch instead of the executive branch to fill that appointment.
Second. Who are the officers of the city?
The elected officials of the city and the mayor would be included in that.
Okay, so no more than two, so there can be two members, so there can be a member of the legislative branch. So it would probably be uncouth of me to bring up the fact that I did, for the first time, ask to be appointed to a board or commission a week ago Friday.
Not uncouth, no. There are two public official positions open. This fills one of them. There is an alderman, there's technically another city official position open for the planning commission, or for the redevelopment authority. Alder Tate, did you want to speak?
I'm just going to clarify that it's not legislative branch, it's legislative body, and the mayor is a de facto member of the common council. So.
Here's where Tate, here it is, where he made it the diversity issue was a big deal when Corey first came. There's no diversity issue now with the RDA, and Sandy Widener wants to be on the RDA. But, you know, he's so shallow. I mean, it's, it's
it was a big
really.
deal. Yeah, big deal when it was the wastewater. But once it got over to the RDA, I'm not too worried about that.
Well, he got his appointment.
Yeah, he got his appointment,
appointed
but he also looks at it and says, well, you know, we don't want her. Because,
that's the way it works, sucking up the power, too.
Yeah,
I've watched these new people. You go, you know, the mayor or somebody comes over, puts his arm around you, you know, we think you got promise, you know.
Right.
You can be in with the in crowd, and they melt, and all of a sudden, they're worthless.
I mean, you
from that point
really
on.
have
Well, that's how you got on
to-
this table here. You know,
Well,
you sucked up to me a little bit, and I said, George, come on. You know,
Yeah,
just
but
come and hang
we're not
around.
allowed, we don't wield any power. We're not-
no power, I can tell you that.
I don't get the vote on
Lumpkin's
anything.
gone. You know, he wasn't nice to me this week.
Is that what happened? I did not know that. I'll behave better.
I would like to move to strike the mayor from the RDA.
So a motion and a second to strike the appointment of Corey Mason to the RDA. There's a second by Alder Widener. Discussion.
Can say is wow.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I kind of like her. I mean, I know she's democratic and plays, but she's got a little bit of,
Well,
a little more than I thought. You know?
The backstory is that she was kind of promoted into that position to get rid of Eddie Deal. She ran in the district that Alderman Eddie Deal was serving.
Right.
And John Dickert preferred Melissa Lemke, and they pushed her hard, and she's turned out to be very much an independent voice.
Yeah, she did.
She's
And
turned out to
she's
be a good
actually-
alderman.
Yeah, I think she is, and I think she's well liked in her district. You know, at least what I heard. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, you know, things can change.
Well, she at least gets a viewpoint. She was actually the only alderman in the entire history of the arena that voted against it every single time.
Yeah.
She started right out of the chute. But Sandy even voted one time, but quickly was reminded by her constituents this is a bad idea.
Yeah, that was just
Well, that was-
committee
that
of
was
the
just
whole
that was
meeting.
just a committee
Yeah,
of the
that
whole.
was just
But
a-
at that committee of the whole, Lemke still voted against
And
it.
I give her credit for that. 'Cause
Yeah.
She listened to her
The point was,
constituents.
she had done her research on that and decided that it was not a good idea, and stuck to it the whole time, despite the fact that the rest of her party was
And I
solidly
think she
pushing
caught
it
some
forward.
static.
You know?
I'm sure she caught static because of that.
Oh, yeah.
And who knows where. But she's strong in her district, so, and that I've been on that district, and she's strong in that district. So, you know, and that.
Well,
we need more strong
we
people.
appreciate it. She may be giving up a future up into the state legislature, you know, state senate.
Well, the
for that.
Democratic,
yeah,
you know,
on the
machine
Democratic
is not
Party.
gonna be, you know,
yeah, but
you know,
but
we'll look
bow
good.
down. Thank you, Melissa, for what you're doing for the city in the meantime.
Yep.
Alder Weiser.
I would like to remind the Common Council that one of our recent mayors, John Dickert, actually did appoint himself to several committees and commissions along the way, so this would not be a precedent setting to have this occur here.
Could we break a minute? John?
Oh, come on over. We see John out in the audience here in the studio.
Thanks but John, is it true that you actually set a precedent? They're talking about a precedent, something you did in the past. Did you do that?
Did you appoint yourself to positions on
committees?
I'm telling you, John, I'm going to tell you.
No, he pleads the fifth.
Okay, well, I guess that's that. It doesn't surprise me, Eddie.
Okay, well, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
So I'd like to make clear that I don't have any problem with Corey Mason specifically, and I have no reason to have anything other than complete trust for his judgment. I just think, and I'm not concerned about it setting precedent. I'm concerned that I feel like generally when you appoint oneself, it appears to be conflict. I don't necessarily think that Corey Mason has any conflict of interest. I just don't like the idea of the executive branch being appointed to a sort of separate body. I just don't think it seems quite right.
What you saw there, folks, was principle in action. It wasn't that Corey was there. It's the principle of the separation of powers. It's a very important principle. It's part of our way of government, part of our way of life, and it is being radicalized, is being thrown out practically up and down the political line. But there's a lady right there holding on to that concept.
We want to thank the former mayor for stopping by the way.
He was in a hurry.
As a editorial comment that getting members of this body to serve on the numbers of commissions, committees, and
Point out
boards.
that he is sitting in Dennis Weiser's seat. He's no longer chairing the committee, and now he's entering testimony. That's what he's talking about.
He's come down into the council chambers, and now Dennis Weiser is up in the mayor's chair.
And I'd like to point out that is an illegal act they're performing right now under Robert's Rules of Order, which is practically part of the municipal code, is once you participate in the conversation of a particular agenda item, you can't go up and chair it. You have to find somebody that hasn't chaired it and is willing to not chair it for the duration of that discussion. That's
But
one of the
they haven't
requirements
brought
of-
any opinion on that, so when they can go up and chair, there was no discussion. Dennis Weiser was in the discussion.
Yeah, he was actually.
So actually, he can't chair.
He can't chair. No, he's illegally taking over the chair,
Right.
and they had to pick somebody else, Jim Morgenroth or somebody
Right.
that hadn't participated in the
But
discussion.
with John Dickert would sit up on the bench and dictate right out of it. He never gave up his chair.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, he would just peel it out. No one ever said anything.
No, the last one to do it that I saw was Gary Becker.
Yeah.
He recused
He would-
himself from the
he would
chair.
step
Yeah,
down,
he
right.
did it properly.
Yeah.
But the thing is it's a good old boy system here. Instead of getting someone who hasn't participated in the discussion, then there was a lot. There was 6 or 7 or 8 other aldermen to choose from. Q.A. Shakur could have gotten up there.
Well, he may have just, but Morgenroth, I don't think he spoke the whole meeting.
Yeah,
But,
there were lots of people. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Molly
Mary
Brown.
Land.
Yeah, Mary Land. And there are lots of them, but no, I had to get the buddy system going
Right.
here and get Dennis Weiser.
We can't make no mistakes.
All asked to serve on, which I acknowledge are many, is a challenge. So I'll just make that editorial comment. If people would like to serve on the RDA or other boards, committees, and commissions, I would welcome that interest.
Do we want to point out?
Well, I want to point out
Yeah,
the fact that Sandy Widener has made a plea to be on the RDA, or at least asked to be on the RDA, has sent an email, and all right, I got a bet here.
And it was the first time she said that she had ever requested to serve on a
right.
particular committee.
Right.
First time ever, or to serve on a committee at all.
Exactly. Now, all right, I got a bet going.
All right.
Is she going to make it to the? Are they going to give her the
Sandy Widener
RDA
to go in the
appointment?
RDA?
Well, there is another seat open, so
Well, I mean, he said.
Possible.
I mean, he
There's
just
supposed
said
to
it.
be 2.
Yeah.
It could be, or there could be.
We
2.
have another. I want to know who. Well, you obviously know Sandy. She raised her hand in there, and but here's the thing: is she going to make it? Are they going to find someone else?
well,
Because
it has
she's
to be somebody off of the council.
Yeah, but does it have to be Sandy Widener, or is it?
Doesn't have to
Do
be.
we want some philosophical diversity? I don't know about that.
what
There's a
I'm
lot of
saying
money
is-
involved here. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
serious
and she may
business.
ask
We
some
don't want
questions
that
that'll be
diversity stuff
embarrassing. Maybe ask where the money's coming from, or how the money got here, or
Well,
what those
we'll see.
developers are doing.
What did you want to bet?
I want to bet. Is she gonna? I don't know what I'll bet, but here's the thing. I mean, what?
You said you want to bet.
Now he's hedging. His
Yeah. Now he's edging his bet.
Well, I want to know what you guys think. Is she going to get an appointment on the RDA?
I think yes.
Oh, I think no.
I think no.
Yeah.
2 to 1.
Yeah, you're going to
We'll
pay
see.
for this. You bring in
Yeah.
something.
There
You
has
think
to
he's
be
not-
a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
You guys argue for a
Got-
difference of opinion, and now look what you're doing. You're badgering me.
Mr. Optimism all of a sudden.
Yeah, like what happened to you?
Just a difference of opinion.
Okay, well then, let's see if Corey is shut off.
Motion has been defeated. The mayor's name will not be stricken from the appointment, and unless there's further objection, these items.
Surprise.
Yeah,
The
there's a
mayor,
surprise.
Yeah.
his name was
stricken.
not stricken from the.
But it just kind of shows the beginning here when you have, the municipal judge being questioned about, is it proper? Then you go to the Tracy Laren fundraiser with the mayor and the different individuals, and then you come here and
Mayor appoints himself to the
he puts himself in
RDA.
it. So this is what we talk about.
Good old boy and
This is
girls.
as
Good old boy
boy-
and girl
Yeah.
system
Yeah.
there.
You can't get any better than this. I
Yeah.
mean, this is like one, and it's going to continue. So, I mean, this is where you really need some to get
Adult
involved.
supervision is
Yeah,
what
you
you
really
need.
need to get involved in your local government.
And we're the adults,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Well,
Yeah, unfortunately, we turned out to be the adults. How that happened, I don't know.
At least it's getting up there in bright lights.
Yeah.
This whole good old boy system, this whole. When I want to call it the Democrat system because it is both a Republican and a Democrat system, but it's money and power system.
Yeah,
Would the
And I-
libertarians be this way if they were in office?
they'll never get there. So what can you worry about?
It's pretty hard without taxes, But the or mandatory taxes. No, it's. I think it's there now for everybody to see. It wasn't quite so obvious
Right.
during the mayoral race, but it's real obvious now. And
Well, it's been
hopefully-
obvious before, but nobody
been
was
obvious
actually
to
taking a
us.
critical look at it.
Well, I mean, I think
and
this one
bringing
here-
it to the
Well,
public attention.
yeah, it's so darn blatant right
Yeah.
now. It's more than obvious. It's in your
And it
face.
started
Here
right
we
at the
come.
mayoral campaign when I am the Democrat. And then they pulled in all the Democrats from the state. I mean, they were coming in. I mean, major Democrats were coming to Racine
Yeah.
to get Corey Mason elected mayor.
And that, but
And
that,
they'll be coming back, too.
Oh, they're coming back with
that,
aldermanic.
that occurred right in the last weekend.
Yeah,
That occurred.
yeah.
This is starting like 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the election. So it's really coming up bold and brave right now and audacious. So
And I think in the eyes of most of the public, it's like, well, they're doing it. It can't be wrong. I mean, they would be trying to hide it if it was wrong, wouldn't they? I mean,
no, what I'm concerned is this flyer for
have we got
Tracy
any
Laren.
Cradle left? Is there any more beer in the refrigerator? I mean, that's the things that come to mind, and this sort of stuff just gets overlooked.
No, my concern is when people see this Tracy Laren thing with Mayor Corey Mason and Representative Grady Neubauer supporting her, they're going to say, oh, wow, she's got some really good support there. I'm going to
Yeah.
vote for her.
Right.
Nobody's looking and saying, what the hell are those two doing in a local race?
Why is a
nonpartisan
member
race?
of the Public Safety and Licensing Committee being supported by a tavern owner?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a little more hidden because a lot of people don't know who Doug Nicholson is, but the other two,
But he's
mayor
also
and
a member of the
representative.
RDA. Doug
Yeah.
Nicholson's on the RDA. So, I mean, this is such a.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so.
And the Ethics Committee.
He's off that thing.
Oh, is he off
After
the
he plead the
ethics
fifth, how many times? I don't know. 40 times.
40
They
times,
took him
yeah.
off the ethics. I mean, that even probably even at some point must have even actually got to some of the
Yeah.
powers.
Well, there you go, folks. It's been grand having you here with us today, and have a wonderful day. We'll see you again soon.